I'm Yuko. I'm volunteering at the local Victoria chapter of the BC Sustainable Energy Association. And currently I'm doing some research on the adoption of EV around Greater Victoria. And I found your profile actually on Victoria EV Association's website. Mm-hmm. And I thought, this is the guy I need to go talk to learn more about what the issues are in the adoption of EVs around Victoria here. Because I guess, different municipalities have different challenges. I'm mostly interested in local, around here, what the consumers are saying, what would prevent them from switching from gas-powered car to EVs, and different concerns maybe they might be having. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if I can get your insights, that'd be great. Yeah.
Hey, I have a question for you. I'm familiar with the BC Sustainable Energy Association.
Yeah.
What is the goal? I mean, so if the organization is trying to study this, what would be the ideal outcome, and how do you intend to use what you learn to make change?
Right. So really the association is focusing on helping to transition toward a more sustainable energy use and production, right? And electric vehicles, we think, have a very important role to play in this transition. And I'm hoping to identify those issues and roadblocks so that we can, in turn, maybe do some more focused advocacy. We have on the team, we have people who are specialized in advocating for new policies. So I would be interested in hearing about that too. If you think there are focused policies that might help in adopting EVs, then I'd be interested in hearing about that. Yes, and also we do outreach and education of the public. So I would also be interested in hearing about what would be stopping people. Why would they be hesitating when you do the math? It feels pretty obvious that it's a great choice, right? So why is it that there's still so many internal combustion engines around here? So is it the money, or is it, what is it?
Well, it's really interesting because the data can be interpolated in a number of ways.
Yeah.
So, for example, it sounds really good when we hear that 40% of new vehicles sold in British Columbia are plug-in electric. It's a huge number. However, the average age of a vehicle on Vancouver Island is something like 18 years old.
Okay.
Because we don't have high-speed freeways. We don't, apart from Bay Street, most of our roads are pretty good. And so suspension lasts a long time. It's not like cars going to, up to, I don't know, on the 401 or something like that. They get trashed, right? And they get rusted out in the winter. Cars here last a long time. And we don't consume that many new cars. So 40% of the new cars sold in British Columbia are electric. However, with such a large fleet size and the average age of the fleet being somewhere between 13 and 17 years old, depending on what time frame we sample, there are, even though you're running 40% of new inputs are EV, it still will take many years to make a noticeable change.
Interesting.
However, because it's the fleet size is quite large. It's going to take a while for EVs to really take over, but there's a kind of a natural death for the internal combustion vehicles one way or another. There are a number of collisions that will render a car, it will bring it to its end of life, so it's ready for recycling. Sometimes customers just need a change, and they go shopping for a car because the kids have moved out, or they've just bought a new place and they need to be able to tow a trailer now, or whatever. And so sometimes people will retire a gas car early because they're just done with it. And it's like when a person's needs change, they come looking for a solution.
Right.
And many consumers, I always tell this to my staff, a car buyer is not a professional car buyer. A car buyer is a human being that's part of a family and a lifestyle that all of a sudden finds themselves needing a car.
Yeah.
It's not like they've studied for the last 9 months to be the ultimate car shopper. So people come in either with a bit of education or a lot of education or none at all. And so we have to be prepared to answer the questions and learn about the lifestyle requirements of the person, and then try to find the car that's going to best suit their needs. Because we want them to be happy, and we want them to come back, and we want to buy that car back later. So we have to have the perfect fit at the right time. So we have a good selection for that. But the average car buyer that leaves their home on a Sunday morning thinking, let's go look at a couple different car lots and see what new cars look like, because we haven't been out for a long time. If they don't specifically fall in love with an EV on the first day, and they do fall in love with something else, like maybe they love the style of the new Bronco,
Yep.
which is a hot car. It's not very efficient, and it wouldn't be a good financial decision, but people don't think that way sometimes.
Right.
And it's like, it's easy for you and me to sit down and say, well, look at this spreadsheet. The EV is going to save you $40,000
Yeah.
over 10 years.
Right.
People, it's not really the way
Doesn't
people
mean
think.
much
Yeah.
to a lot of people.
So I like to use the math in a way that is more grounded in the customer's lifestyle. So for example, if we're talking with a busy family, dad's, running a business and mom's working 2 jobs and they've got 2 kids and one's in ballet and one is in gymnastics and they got another one on the way. It's like, oh this house is going to be chaos and it's going to be all about moving people from one place to another.
Yep.
So if you buy a gas car or even a hybrid car at that point and you map out 10 years of ownership, you can pretty much predict what life is going to look like shuffling kids around. And when you do the math, then it really makes a considerable difference.
Right.
So, but customers might not be exposed to that when they're shopping for a car.
Yeah. It might just be how it looks like, or the comfort, or the
Is
room
there
inside,
is there
carpet
room?
space.
Yeah. Maybe people are like, well, I have a back injury, and if I'm moving a car seat into a vehicle, I want it to be this high so it's easy to load.
Right.
And if it's a hybrid, they're happy because their last car was full gas. So for them, that's a progression, and they feel good about that.
Yep.
If they had, perhaps visited and driven some other cars, they might, their eyes might have been opened up a little bit. There's a safety factor as well. Like the electric cars that are on the road now are safer than gas cars.
Right.
Like they burn less frequently, 400 times less frequently than gas cars. So it's like, okay, well, that's a good reason to avoid a gas car. And then, apart from cost, there's efficiency and creature comforts, like being able to, push a button on your steering wheel and say, hey, navigate me to, like I was going to I left the gym this morning with my girlfriend and we were in a Tesla and I pushed the button on the steering wheel and I said, take me home. And so it navigated us there and she says, hey, you want to stop for a coffee? And I said, yeah, I do. And I said, do you want to go to Discovery Coffee? She says, I love Discovery, but I like 2% Jazz even better. Okay. And we haven't been downtown to the gym for a bit. So I just push the button on the steering wheel and say, hey, on the way home, stop at 2% Jazz. And the car pulled into the parking lot and found a stall and backed into the stall. It was a handicapped stall, so I had to pull out of that stall and move next door, but the car did it all for me. So there's like all these convenience features that are not available with gas cars.
So they're not available with gas cars. Interesting, yeah.
Well,
I guess because electric is easier in a way to implement those technologies.
Well, with an electric drivetrain, all of the componentry on the car already runs on electricity.
Right.
A hybrid kind of allows a vehicle to run only on electric without the use of the internal combustion engine for a period of time. But inevitably, if the car needs some thermal energy, if it needs heat, it's going to start the engine, like a Mitsubishi PHEV. People get fooled into thinking that if a car has a plug on the side of it, they can drive on electric. And it's the biggest complaint we get. Yeah, I bought this PHEV thinking that I could plug it in and drive on electric, or a Jeep 4xe. It's got a plug on it. And I'm like, no, they have like 20 kilometers range. Yeah. So they buy a vehicle because the salesperson said, you can plug in every night. And they feel that. And they're like, oh, I'm electric now. No, you're not. Anyway, so we get a lot of those people trading those cars in and being like, give me what I wanted in the first place. Right. I don't want to go to the gas station, is what it is.
Okay, so that's one thing that people actually talk about.
Well, yeah, the gas is always a big deal. By the time somebody lands here, they've already been thinking about it for a long time. But, if you were to approach, I don't know, any generic car dealer, Toyota's very good because they have a million hybrids, right? So they can offer a fuel-efficient solution to their clients that they feel good about. So Toyota's got their customers on lockdown because there's always something next for them to buy. But in a lot of cases, like if you had a Fiat 500, E or a Fiat 500 gas, and you're like, oh, well, I'd like to look at the new electric one. It's not a very compelling car. So you wouldn't really be turned on by that electric car because the new one's really no better than the old one. So it's like, what's the incentive? So a person might get turned off electric after only having looked at one brand. Or if they look at a Mini Cooper, it's like, it's actually a very good electric car, but it's boring by today's standards. So if you're an EV shopper and you went in and they only had a Cooper that went 200K and you're thinking that you'd like to have 500 kilometers range, well, you're out of luck. So in some cases, the consumers just don't have access. They don't have a choice. Right. Depending on which channel they go to buy their cars. If they go to Tesla, it's going to be pure electric. If they come here, it'll be pure electric. But everywhere else is like whatever the sales department has. That's what's on offer. So yeah, in terms of adoption, I think, you know, you had mentioned policy earlier.
Yes.
And it's an interesting subject to talk about policy, because I think when electric vehicles first started to popularize, I guess 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, there was only a few. There was Smart, there was Tesla, there was Volkswagen e-Golf, there was Nissan Leaf, the Tesla Roadster was done by then. But there was only a BMW i3 was out in 2014. There's only a few. And so government incentives in Canada and the US played a major role in not only making the vehicles more affordable, because the lower the price point of the car is, the more affordable it is, the higher percentage of population will be able to make the purchase. So the industry and purchasers want to see the purchase price decline. So in the beginning, incentives were critical,
Right.
because they not only put out a message that the government is going this direction and we're using taxpayers' money to support this push. It was good, positive messaging. I think that now incentives are not required whatsoever. And the reason that I say that is because the average person now, not the fringe buyers, the economists, the, you know, activists, whatever, not anybody on the fringe, but just the average person now knows, as a British Columbia driver with access to really clean energy, they know that it's going to be cheaper and cleaner and a better driving experience than a gas car. Like there's really, you know, you used to see the haters online, like electric will never, let's see how long the batteries last. And there was all this hate. And even the haters drive EVs now.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
I
yeah,
was
they
going to
do.
ask you about this because you made a video and you
Oh,
were
yeah.
reflecting in your car, thinking, "Oh, why this divide?" And so,
that's an old video.
Yes, it is.
That was like 19.
Yeah.
19. That was a long time ago. I recorded
I
that
saw
right
that
in front of
one.
Mayfair Mall, is where I started that. Yeah.
Yes, I'm like, oh, I wonder if those people are still around because, you know, it's been a while since then, right? So,
They are. You know who some new customer groups we've got that I never would have initially thought of? Here's a funny one for you. We get these 80 plus guys that come in and say, hey, I need a cheap Leaf and I don't care what it looks like. And I say, what are you doing with it? I'm using the powertrain, the heating, the cooling, the charging, and the shifter and everything in my sailboat. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Yeah, we've sold 5 like that.
Huh.
Yeah, because people, you can put any battery you want in it, charge it off solar, and it's like way cheaper than putting a new diesel engine in your sailboat. And it's quiet. So it's like, oh my God, there are end of life users that will, like, they're like vultures.
Interesting.
They just, And then,
that's cool.
and then we've seen the farmers. The farmers come in and they're like, okay, well, I can use a wheelbarrow and that's fine, but I could move more dirt if I use my skid steer, and that's great. But what about if you need something like that's a cross in between the two? How about a $5,000 Nissan Leaf that only goes 80 kilometers on a battery? You rip the seats out and use that as a farm implement, and it's like dragging stuff all over your property. I cannot tell you how many Leafs go to die on farms, but they never die.
Cool. Yeah. I've seen farms using, you know, those electric golf carts kind of thing to haul things around, like potato sacks and things like that.
It's convenience. How much does the equipment cost? And what can it do? So the Leaf is like a glorified electric wheelbarrow at the end of its life. People just use them for hauling refuse and you know, elderly people who say, listen, man, I live here. I go to the pool, my doctor's here, the grocery's here, my kid lives here, I live in a zone. Okay, so we're not changing batteries in these cars. Well, sometimes we do, but usually, even when a car's at the end of its life, there's still a consumer for that car.
Right.
So I'm like, wow, these things get like recycled through owners. We don't change the batteries, we change the owners.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's pretty cool.
So in the beginning it was the techies. People who were super into tech were like, man, I got to have an electric car. I see things that I love about this technology. I want to be there. So they buy an electric car. It was like, and they still do. And then there were the environmentalists who were like, you know what? I can do better. I can commute and pollute less CO2. So I will choose the lower production of CO2 for every kilometer I go. And it's like, okay, that's even cheaper than the bus in terms of CO2 emissions. So that was a no-brainer for a lot of people. And there were a couple of different customer groups that would buy these things, but they're super mainstream now. And so now it's like families. They come in because they're like, listen, we bought a house, the mortgage payment's $2,500 a month, we both make good money, but between the cost of insurance and the cost of activities for the kids, you know, we got to trim money where we can. And childcare is expensive. You know, BC lost their $10 a day childcare gig at quite a few areas. So yeah, the cost of childcare has gone up a lot. So families are like, okay, where can we take a big chunk out of the bottom line?
Right.
And it's fuel.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to pay, $5, $6, $7, $800, we have some customers that, like, we had a guy that was paying $1,800 a month in fuel, driving a Jeep, doing a food delivery.
Oh,
And I'm like,
crazy.
you're nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we set him up with a Tesla Model 3 long range with full self-drive. And that was like $650 a month. And so he's ahead by, after all of his expenses, $1,400 a month,
Yeah. Wow.
$1,200. I don't know.
Sounds pretty smart.
Yeah. It's like, so, I mean, it's game changing for people. If you can do the same job that you were doing before, but switch out the vehicle and make twice as much money in your pocket at the end of the month, this is easy math.
Right. So it sounds like there's a lot of argument for, it sounds pretty straightforward. So is there any, like a section of the customers who are hard to convince, and why would that be? Like, what would be the
biggest
deal breaker, maybe?
The biggest segment of haters for a while was actually people who hate Elon Musk.
Oh
yeah.
Well, that's a tough one.
Well, yeah. So, and to be honest with you, I always follow the money.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, those, the news investigative stories that are like, Olsen on your side and stuff. It's like, let's investigate and see what we can find. So by the numbers, oil and gas spend a lot of money, and oil and gas is involved with medical companies, and also there's a lot of large corporations that control a lot. No big deal. And they want to keep selling their product. It's fine. When Tesla came along, they started to make a material change in the way things were sold. Every automaker on the planet has been spending a huge amount of money. Same thing with insurance companies, spend a huge amount of money on advertising. And so there was the wrong message went out to big advertising giants that said actually the number one selling car brand worldwide got to be number one with no advertising.
Yeah.
So they either had to slap Tesla down and beat them down into something lower than number one and two, so that the other guys who were advertising could claim to be number one and two. The advertisers have to show that the money is well spent with them.
Right.
And so when somebody climbs to number one and they've spent $0 on advertising, that kind of ruins your system.
Yeah.
So anyway, so the hate for Musk got huge. And like, it's funny, I got into a debate with my neighbor about this, and I said, well, why don't we get a bottle of scotch and we'll sit down and we'll just pick one thing that you hate, just one thing. And she said that it was something to do with land rights in South Africa. And I'm like, well, he did grow up there. He spent, 20 years of his life there. So he probably has a good idea of what it was like. And I can't judge because I don't know.
Yep.
But I said, let's sit down and we'll analyze the situation. Anyway, we ended up having a glass of wine and we never did discuss the situation. And she still hates Elon and she's never buying a Tesla, and that's fine. But there was a lot of Tesla hate. So that really slowed things down. And that actually would have made a material impact on the number of EVs sold globally. Since then, Tesla's recovered and people have come to realize that it's not only the safest car, it's the most efficient car, it's the most useful car, it's the only car that can drive itself. So if you're buying a car for your kids, for example, and we see a lot of parents that are looking at now purchasing a car for a student in the household, to go to school for the first time, and it's like your 16-year-old driver probably hasn't had that much practice going to school and back because it's only 3 kilometers away. But if they're going to go to Camosun or UVic or Malaspina or somewhere, your kid's doing something different now, and they're going to be commuting further, are you going to buy them a $5,000 beater? Is it that safe? No. Okay, so what do we get? Do we get a Leaf? That would be very efficient. We could do that. But what if they want something longer on the week? So we end up having a lot of conversations with parents buying their first car for the kid, and it's going to be an EV.
Wow, that's very cool, actually.
Yeah. You think about the kids who were, this is why I'm saying, like, the S curve is huge. The rate of adoption is going to blow up. And the reason for that is if you ask any kid right now who's 12 years old or 8 years old or 6 years old, what's the coolest car you ever saw? 9 out of 10 times they're going to say it's a Cybertruck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they love the brand.
Okay.
They love the brand. And they know that for us, it was Apple. Who makes a flawless product? Apple. You can trust it. And that's how people feel with Tesla. And the kids feel that way. So when the kids feel that way, it's going to be overwhelmingly supportive for Tesla. And if you ask a kid what's the coolest thing that GM makes, they won't be able to tell you because they don't know. Same thing with BMW and all the other marquee brands. I walked by Mercedes the other day, and I love to walk around town. I walk a lot, and I love to look at car dealers. All the Volvo stuff looks hot. They'll sell well. But if you go by Mercedes, their stuff doesn't look very exciting. It actually would appeal to the probably 70 plus crowd who have been faithful Mercedes clients for a long time.
Yeah.
But if you go by, there's nothing like shocking and exciting. Kia and Hyundai products, EVs, look more exciting than a Mercedes. So the whole automotive industry is like...
Yeah, the future looks pretty bright for the EVs then, right?
Oh, it's only going up from here. You know, in terms of energy, the haters who used to be super pro oil and gas, these people all now have solar on their roof. Because when government rebates come out and things get cheaper for them to own, they're like, wait a second, this is going to be a long-term pay. I'm getting the solar. And once they have a solar, they're like, well, you know what? I got a little extra cash on my tax return or whatever. I'm going to add a battery. And so now we're going to get cheap time of use, energy consumption to charge those batteries at night. We can run on that cheap power during the day. And inevitably, they end up coming to look at an EV.
Right.
Because something happens. Their wife's got a new job and she's traveling more, and they don't want to be on the road in that old car anymore. So it's like, we're going to treat the family, we're getting a car.
So it sounds like everybody's getting converted. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, you know what happens? Like, so you live on a cul-de-sac, and you know every car in every house. They're all the same all the time. Oh, Johnny got a new BMW. Okay, cool. Well, guess what? Wendy's got a new Tesla. And over a year, you notice they get replaced one at a time. Oh, and this one's got an EV charger on the front of their house. And this one's got an EV charger on the front of their house. Oh, what do you know? There's 2 Teslas over here. It's happened on my street. I was the only EV on my street in 2020. And now every second house has an EV, and every 5th house has 2 EVs.
So it's almost like by owning an EV, you're also contributing in accelerating the adoption of EVs in your neighborhood and friends.
I look at it like the number that I'm always curious about is the total numbers of kilometers traveled on electric instead of gas. So every time you see a gas car vacate a property and an electric car replaces it, it's like, wow, the environmental cost has dropped by like 95%. The customer enjoyment is going to be up. It's likely a way newer vehicle than what it replaced, so it's probably a safer vehicle. And eventually those vehicles will be feeding into the grid when we get vehicle-to-grid capacity in BC. And that will reduce the demand on the grid to make the whole grid run more efficiently and expand the capacity. So...
So going back to, some of the concerns that I've read in your blog or your previous YouTube, it used to be, the cost would be a problem or the time to charge would be a problem. Are these not an issue anymore?
There are few struggles. I think some people they have a little apprehension when they first get into an EV because they're not sure where to charge and whatnot. And that feels like a whole big new thing. But the reality is it's kind of like your cell phone. You'll rarely charge it outside home unless you're traveling for work or something like traveling routinely. So you end up settling into a super common routine, and it's not as difficult as people think. The original, people's trepidations would include like, is it going to really work for me in all conditions? So we still have to look at things like, do you need an all-wheel drive vehicle?
Once in a while.
Once in a while. And when I always ask people like, so when you do travel, where do you go? And if they say, oh, I like to go to Calgary, sometimes their partner will say, yeah, you haven't driven there in 4 years, babe. And it's like, oh yeah, because last time you looked at the cost of fuel and it was cheaper to fly. But if it was electric, if it's electric, well, that would change it. That means it's not a $500 fuel bill. Now it would be a $100 fuel bill or $80, depending on where you charge or whatever. So I think, was that a long way around your question? You're like, I don't even remember the question anymore.
Right? No, I'm always focused on the issues, right? I want more people to actually adopt EVs. And so what can we do to encourage them or to remove some misconceptions, maybe around a few things?
So you're familiar with the term FUD?
FUD.
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Okay,
Okay, so the oil companies have been spending around $100 million a day for like 20 years now to target Tesla. And the most effective ad spend for them is to generate news articles that are based on fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Like accident happened because of the autopilot
Yep.
for Tesla, or
Yeah.
something like that.
And, you know, to be honest with you, Jenny has done a lot of A/B testing with our media that we produce. And anything that we have with the word Tesla in it generates like how much more interest? Is it double or more?
We have one video with Tesla that is 18,000 viewers.
18,000.
Yeah, 18,000.
So anything that says Tesla will pull more views, period. So the media knows that.
Yeah.
And if the goal of the media is to make Tesla pay, then they do things to discredit Tesla. And so anyway, I can't remember where I was going with that, but there was a reason for that. What was the question again?
Yeah, just focusing on identifying the roadblocks. And
Oh, the
issues,
FUD.
right?
Yeah,
So then
it's
you
the
mentioned
FUD.
The FUD. So
It's the ad.
the belief.
It's the ad spend that leads to FUD. So you get a lot of news articles that hate on EVs in general. And like if there is an EV fire, it gets publicized. And if there's a Tesla crash, it gets publicized. Thing is, though, lots of other things happen that don't get publicized. So if you just look at things by the data, it's like, yeah, EVs make a lot of sense and whatnot. But still, the consumers have consumed a lot of marketing material that makes EVs look bad. For example, I was at Coast Capital the other day in Sydney, and I was getting some vehicle registrations. And I asked the young lady at the counter, who was very friendly, she was like, you know, doing her thing. And so I was just making small talk, and I said, have you seen an uptick in electric vehicle registrations this year? And so that's kind of like, you know, a leading question, because I don't even know if she's been working there a year. I have no idea. So she said, this year, I have noticed a substantial increase in electric vehicle registrations. And I was like, oh, okay, it's positive, yeah. So I'm just waiting. And she says, how do you feel about electric vehicles? And I was getting a Tesla registration. So it's like, I'm doing an EV thing. And she says, do you feel bad about the water consumption? And I said, the water consumption, please explain to me this water consumption you speak of. And she said, well, the hydro. They use a lot of hydro, and that water is gone forever. And I said, well, no, the water's not gone forever. It passes through the hydroelectric dam, runs downhill, ends up in the ocean, evaporates, clouds, rain, gravity, you know, and it's a closed loop system. And she was willing to die on that hill.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know what to say, because I can't actually have a functional conversation about this with that person.
Right.
That is a result of FUD.
I see.
And it's not her fault, because she read that somewhere.
Right. So somebody's creating those.
Yes.
Information.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, pump the brakes.
Right.
If this young lady thinks that electric cars are bad because they consume an unlimited amount of water, first of all, that's wrong. And I'm not her educator. Maybe she'll watch this video and she'll be like, that was me. But the reality is, somebody is creating a lot of content that is misleading. And they don't want to tell the person that, they don't want to say outright, you should buy a gas car.
Right.
What they do want to do is they want to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt, so that the next time that person is shopping for a car, they have a degree of doubt, and they choose the more comfortable path, which is an internal combustion or hybrid vehicle.
Right. Yeah. So education seems to be pretty important.
Yep.
Yeah. Just getting out there and talk to those people. And you, in your case, I guess people, like you were saying, are already EV supporters. They come here.
My people are already sold.
Right.
Like
so do you do anything to actually try to reach the ones that are not sold yet?
Yeah. Well, and that's why we're generating content, because the conversations that I have are best applied to many people, because a lot of people will find some sort of value and learn something that they maybe had a misconception about or whatever.
Right.
So my goal, and Motorize's goal, is to generate high quality content to share useful and relevant information to help people make the switch to electric on their own time scale. Like, so it's not, we don't do sales stuff really, not very much. But yeah, it drives people to go electric. If first you start by collecting the right information, then you can make a decision. But you can't really get the right information necessarily by visiting a random car dealer.
Right.
Because they're like their job is to sell you what they have today. So yeah, we're definitely going in that direction. I think one of the most positive things, like I like good news, you know.
Yep.
Bad news makes the headlines, but good news is what we all actually long for. And so in terms of generating media, one thing that we found really popular is to interview people at the Tesla superchargers. Because because you're not only getting Tesla owners, you're now seeing Ford F-150, BMW iX, Ioniq 5, Polestar, Rivian, Mercedes. They all go to Tesla because they can all charge with Tesla. In fact, all the new cars come with Tesla charging ports. So you just go to Tesla. So when you talk to people at the Tesla charging stations, you get a total cross-section of society. You get your commercial operators, your mums and dads, your retired travelers, your busy family, like everybody's there. And so we interview those people, and I learn a lot about like who's buying these things, and it's everybody. And a lot of them have their second EV or third EV.
How about the ones who want an EV but can't? Why?
That's where the pricing is so important. You know, like so there's a couple of reasons somebody might not be able to get an EV, such as if they have a long commute and they don't have a budget that is sufficient to buy a car with a battery large enough to manage the commute.
Okay, so we still have some work to do in that area.
Could be a barrier. Having said that, the older low-cost EVs, like your $6,000 to $10,000 Nissan Leafs, are now sometimes starting to show up with a used, newer, bigger battery in them. So like we have a Leaf here for 10 grand. It is a 2011, really old car, not that pretty actually, but it has a new 40 kilowatt hour battery in it.
Oh, nice.
So it goes 220K on a car for $10,000.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's like, wait a second, if that saves you, if you drive 20,000 kilometers a year, and you could easily do that in that car, then your operating cost on a Honda Accord is, we just did this last night, $5,075 a year to run a Honda Accord, and you're like $1,000 a year to run the Leaf. So it will pay you back $4 or $5 grand a year driving 20,000K a year. I mean, the numbers are insane. So when you say like, what about somebody that really has an ultra tight budget? It's like, yeah, it might be a major stretch to get somebody to come up with 10 grand, and that car is too old to finance. But if somebody could squeeze that money together, they will save $4,000 a year in perpetuity.
Right. How about the charging infrastructure? Is it something that's an issue, or?
It depends on the use case. The public charging is very good. It's very well developed, and there's more charging coming all the time.
So traveling around BC, not an issue anymore?
If you want to go, if like Joffrey Lake was a problem for a while, there were a couple areas like way off the beaten path. If there's anybody there, you can drive there in an EV. I did a road, like I've been up into northern BC. I've been into Alberta in EVs. I've been down to California. I've been through Death Valley. Like I've been all over the place. You can really get around almost anywhere that people are, especially if you have a battery that's like a large capacity battery. I mean, if you want to go exploring the world, don't buy a Nissan Leaf. That's not what it's for. It's a city car. But many other modern EVs have big batteries, and they can charge quickly, and they can access the Tesla network. Even here on Vancouver Island, BC Hydro was really good in putting in charging stations in remote locations. So along the coast, we saw back in 2020 or 2021, we got Port Renfrew. Now we have Port Alice, we've got Port Hardy. I think Tofino has DC fast chargers, Ucluelet, like Campbell River, Courtenay, Nanaimo, like they're all over the place now. So even if you're driving a car that has a range of 200 kilometers, you can still kind of get pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, I was checking, some local Reddit before I met you, and one of the thread was talking about, I don't have, I live in a multi-unit building, and they don't have a charging station. So what should I do? Is EV right for me if I actually don't have a dedicated charging space at home? And so a couple of threads later, a post later, it's like, well, you should get a plug-in hybrid kind of thing. So see, the conclusion was hybrid is the solution.
It's an easy non-thinking response.
Right? Yeah.
The real solution is to first off determine the use case. So if this person, A, has to drive to work every day, okay, how far do they drive to work every day? we find in most cases, like most Vancouver Island residents drive like between 12 and 18 kilometers a day. It's short. So, but let's say worst case scenario, somebody lives in Mechosen and works downtown, and they don't want to use public transit because it's still not quite as awesome as it maybe could be. We need a train, I swear. If we had a train.
I used to work in Mechosen. It's not,
But that's a real commute for somebody, right? It's like you can't necessarily bus from where, so I got to drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're 60 kilometers round trip. And let's say this person's renting a suite in Mechosen or whatever, because there's not really condos in Mechosen. But let's say they're renting a suite and they're not allowed to plug in.
Right.
They're not allowed to plug anything in. Okay, no car. All right, so in that case, at 50 kilometers per day, you could drive an entire week, that's 250K, on a base Tesla Model 3 or a Leaf Plus or something like that, and you'd still have 30% left. I guarantee during that week at one point, you will go to the grocery store.
Oh, yeah. So
in a week, probably. You're going to need something eventually.
Yeah.
When you need something, go charge.
Right. You also mentioned workplace charging.
Yeah.
I was also interested in hearing about that. And that was, again, a few years ago. And you were encouraging people to ask about it, inquire. How hard is it for a business here in Greater Victoria to install chargers?
Yeah, it's generally pretty easy. Actually, to install a level 1 charger is cheap and easy. Like for the average business to hire an electrician, get a permit and all that stuff, you'd probably be maybe $2,000 or something like that.
Okay, and
for
so
like
in a day of 8 hours, you would get like
kind
of range.
Some of the biggest barriers for a business would be having to install like a post in a sidewalk or something to mount the charger on. If you're at home, you just put it on the side of the house. But depending on the parking arrangement, you don't really want to have a trip hazard. So in a lot of commercial installs, they're looking at, okay, we're going to dig a hole, we're going to set a post in concrete, we're going to, or whatever. It's like a little bit of extra stuff. So maybe sometimes it costs $4,000 depending on where the power's got to come from. But at that point, a business might just decide to install 2 side by side. One post with 2 chargers. So it is actually pretty easy. And there are government incentives for businesses to install charging available for workers and for the public.
And do you do that too?
We do not install.
Oh, you don't?
No, we just, we do sell chargers. We sell the Tesla chargers. They're the best. They're also the cheapest. But yeah, mostly people just call their favorite electrician to have an install complete. Yeah,
because that sounds like a good spot, right? Like you go to work and you're going to be there for, maybe 8 hours or less.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And in many cases, the workplace will then collect data on the total number of kilowatt hours put into those cars, and then collect the value of the carbon credits for those.
Right.
Like you'll see a lot of things online, like sign up to have one of our chargers and get paid so many cents for every kilowatt hour you do. It's because they're taking the value of your carbon credits and exchanging those for money.
Right.
And then giving you a piece of it. So the carbon credit value is actually worth something to businesses. So yeah, we're just actually working with the firm to figure out what the value is of the carbon credits generated by all the power we put into EVs here.
So those carbon credit companies, are they Canadian or?
Canadian,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's the Canadian government that manages the value and sale of carbon credits.
Yeah. I used to live in the US at some point. I had some solar panels and I was selling my credits.
Yeah.
And it was, like a US company, and you would just put how much you produced in a month and you get credit for it, a little bit of money.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is.
And, interestingly, auto manufacturers predominantly have been making EVs. Like if you look at an automaker that produces an EV, like the Fiat 500 is a perfect example. It's not modern in any way. It is cute and it is fun, but it's not modern. It's not cutting edge. It doesn't do anything fancy. You buy it because you think it looks cute and you like Fiats, and that's fine. It fits into a small spot and it's easy to turn around. But the only reason that vehicle actually exists is because it's a compliance car. So when the government imposes regulations that force a manufacturer to have an average fuel economy in their fleet, it's like if you look at every car that Fiat produces, and a whole bunch of them are turbo V8s or something. In Fiat's case, no, it's mostly the little mini, or the little guy. But if the total fuel consumption of your fleet doesn't hit a certain threshold, you have to add an EV to bring down the total fleet fuel consumption. So they produce an EV that's not really a great car for the customer. It is an EV, but it's not like a solid future contender. And so there's a lot of those things running around, which might lead customers to have not a great experience.
Right.
But if they take the time to sample everything on the market, they'll notice there's some amazing EVs from many different manufacturers.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
So it's actually nice to be able to have a place like here, Motorize, where they can try different brands, different kind of models, and
otherwise there's no way for you to know.
Yeah.
Because you could spend an entire day. Like, for example, if you make an appointment to go look at an electric car at one dealership and they only have one model for you, you could potentially blow through 2 or 3 hours of interaction and only have one impression of one car and no really conversation outside of that particular model.
Right.
Whereas here, people can come in and say, wow, I had no idea. Okay, listen, the reality is I've got 2 big dogs.
Yep.
And I travel and I ski every weekend. Oh, okay. Well, now I know exactly what to put you into.
Right.
But, you know.
Yep. Have you ever heard of regrets with EVs?
Oh, like buyer's remorse?
Yeah.
There's one that we get every time, constantly, from literally everybody. It only happens on the first EV, though.
Yeah. What is it?
And it is literally, it's like I could carve this in stone. Everybody says it. My only regret is that I waited so long.
Okay, good one.
They all say the same thing. It's like clockwork.
Nice.
So, because they know, everybody knows. Common questions. It's like the same, every customer's in the same boat. It comes down to education. And the education is hard to get.
Right. So you never have someone who was converted, who had an EV, who went back to ICE cars? Have you heard?
I have had a couple customers that went back, but it's usually for something, like I just had a guy that was here. We bought a Model 3 Performance from him in 2023, and we just bought a Model Y from him. He was moving to the States and couldn't take his car with him.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, so he's exiting that EV, and I didn't sell him another one, but he will buy another Tesla down there.
Yeah.
But some people, if your lifestyle changes, it's like if you've got a cheap $5,000 Leaf and you use it just for commuting, and then you take a new job that requires you to go over the Malahat, you're going to need another car.
Right.
And if you can't afford an EV that matches that, you might make another decision. But I mean, like 99% of the time, people say, and like they need to buy the right vehicle in the first place.
Yeah.
There are people selling EVs on Facebook Marketplace who, and I get them in here, and I have customers come in and say, listen, I just talked to this other guy at this other place. And it's like, okay, we got to start with the use case. And as long as the customer buys a car that is appropriate for their use case, they will have a great experience.
Yeah. And it also sounds like you need to do some adjustments in your routine, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Going from ICE to an EV, there are a few habits that you need to change. Is that, how...
You want to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah.
Everything has to be easy. So it's like when you're getting your charging station mounted on your exterior wall at your home, for example, you first want to think about, what kind of car am I buying? Where is the charge port on that car? And when I pull into my driveway every day, what is going to be the fewest number of steps for me to get out of the car and into the front door and plugging it in on the way while I'm carrying 2 bags on this arm? So little things like that matter. And because when you unplug it, now you have to put it in the holster. Well, don't put the holster 7 feet over that way because it's inconvenient. So there's little things that you can do. But essentially the adjustment period is like 2 days.
Right.
People call after they buy a Nissan Leaf, and one of the most common thing they say is, you wouldn't believe what I did. I left the car on overnight. And it's like, yeah, it's okay. It's like nothing's going to happen. But yeah, people do that all the time, actually. Because it's not making
one of those
any
button ones?
It is. It does have a button, but the thing is, it doesn't make any noise.
Right.
So you pull into your driveway, you put it in park. It's exciting. You've got your new car, and you open the door and you walk away. It's not idling. Yeah. There's nothing. And you come out in the morning, and it's like all lit up, and you're like, oh, I left it on overnight. It doesn't make any noise. But, But no, the learning curve is really good. Electric cars do offer generally more safety than gas cars. They have more safety features. Like EVs are cutting edge. And there's no gas car, apart from new Corvette, that's pretty cutting edge, but EVs are cutting edge, and the gas cars are not. The gas cars are just, I don't know, they're second best is what they are. So when a customer comes in looking for a car, they're probably going to find a million ways to fall in love with it, a new EV.
And it's going to be hard to go back. Yeah, I drive an EV, so it will be hard to go back.
Do you want to know a dirty little secret that we have? We get people in here all the time, including Chanel, one of our new staff members. And we will say to them, listen, take the car home overnight. Because it's like, what can you really tell in 20 minutes?
Yeah.
When the salesperson's like, oh, we close at 5, so you better get back here so we can write it up. It's like, hold on. No, I just tell the customer, listen, you probably have like a thing to go to. Maybe you want to go out on a date tonight.
Yeah.
Why don't you take the car?
Yeah.
And we'll just see you like tomorrow. And often we'll do it on a Friday night and we'll get the car back Monday or Tuesday. Because honestly, it's just hard to know how you really feel about something in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's a big purchase. So anyway, so by the time somebody comes back, we're like, okay, so are you going to pay for it in cash or is that financing? And people laugh and they're like, yeah, we do want it. Sometimes it's a different color or whatever. And then we can just find the car. But at the end of the day, the car actually sells itself if the consumer takes the time to drive the cars that are appropriate.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, the adoption is real. It is happening.
It's gradual, but speeding up, sort of. Right?
It is speeding up. Yep, it is speeding up. And you know, when we get a spike in gas prices, that does create like an instant demand.
Right.
And it actually kind of messes with the market a little bit. Like when we saw the gas spike back in February, I guess it was. I can't remember when it first went up. What happened is all the EVs on all the dealers' lots sold out right away, and then everybody had nothing.
Yeah.
And then so we all went to the auto auctions to go buy more EVs. There's lots of good lease returns and trades coming in. So we all went back and all fought for the same vehicles. You know, you got 100 dealers fighting for 50 cars. So, you know, the prices went up for a few weeks, which made the next round of inventory expensive. And then the gas went down. So all the EVs went down again. So actually, it's a good time to be shopping for an EV because over the last 3 years, we've seen like a 30% decline in the cost to purchase the average used vehicle. Like in 2021, the average used vehicle was selling for $58,000, used EV. Okay. 58 grand. Now we're down to like 22 grand.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. And we have long range options starting at 10. So it's like, there's kind of an EV for everyone. As long as they can find a suitable fit for their needs, you know, lifestyle wise. So yeah, I think as long as people understand that there is a selection out there, then that's probably the best place to start. So
yeah, very nice. Yeah, well, I feel pretty optimistic.
Yeah, you should. No, you can only go up from here, and every year the numbers are like overwhelmingly positive. And when you start to couple like home battery storage with solar with EVs, when BC lets us do vehicle to grid, that will mean that BC Hydro's capacity will essentially double.
So vehicle to grid.
Yeah.
So does it mean that you can actually, while you have your car plugged in, depending on demand or how much you have in your car, you could be selling your electricity back to the grid? Yeah,
actually, Tesla already has that. It's called Auto Bidder. And if you buy a power wall, it is a car battery, basically, that bolts to your wall. Your solar panels feed into it. So what happens is electricity here with our two-tiered pricing in British Columbia, which is new for BC Hydro. They said they'd never do it, but a year ago or 2 years ago, we got two-tiered pricing. What happens now is, or we get time of use pricing. So if you use the grid to charge your batteries at night with cheap power, and you're not using any power during the day, then you can sell it back at a higher rate. So next level is, why don't let your car do that? If your car is plugged in, and all the new cars with the NACS port are capable of bidirectional V2G, so it's like pretty much all the new cars on the road can handle that. Once BC Hydro says, okay, we'll make it official, let's do it. You'll need some kind of equipment or whatever, but that essentially makes every house its own, you know, power station. So it reduces the load on the grid, which means that, it really helps with a lot of efficiency, and it allows customers to, again, move gas-powered kilometers to electric-powered kilometers. Yeah.
And they get to use their EVs for actually another use, right?
Well, the next thing that's coming, which may sound crazy, but inside every Tesla car is 2 supercomputers. They're insanely powerful. And Tesla's ecosystem is such that Tesla will be asking owners soon if it can pay rent for the compute power in the cars.
Wow.
Because
so it's distributed energy storage and computing.
Yeah. Wow. And compute. Because when you think about it, like nobody actually wants a data center in their backyard.
No, they don't.
Because every data center needs licensing and permits. It needs a huge amount of power, which in many cases will make the rate of the electricity rates in the surrounding area go up.
Yes.
Because whatever the utility provider is has to install extra infrastructure, which is very expensive, and it's shared by the users. So a lot of people get burned there. And so we actually, like, humankind is very hungry for compute, but we don't want to have things that are ugly and crappy in people's backyards.
Right.
So it's like, okay, well, let's use what's in the cars because they have power, they have cooling, they're already connected, they have communications, they're dead silent, and they're super powerful, and they sit idle 95% of the time.
And also reward the EV owners, right? Instead of big corporations running those things, every one of us can be.
Yeah, it's everything from recycling to food production to AI. You can run it at home now on solar. So it's like the entire ecosystem is becoming more whole as we go further. And it's like these little nodes of energy that power everything within the household. It's like, that is the future.
Yeah.
And we don't get there without EVs.
Right.
Like a gas car can't do that. Sorry.
No, they can't.
It's not happening. So, yeah. So I see it as like all green lights all the way.
Okay. Wow. That's really cool. That image of the distributed, everybody being part of the energy production and storage and compute, I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The compute part was new. Yeah. So I learned something new today. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's been pretty rad talking with you.
Yeah.
And I would hope we can maybe talk again in 6 months or something like that.
For sure. Yeah. It was really nice. Yeah.
Tell me what kind of.
Thank you so much for your time. And
Yeah. We'll do it again. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Yuko.
Thank you.